to today's American Association of Respiratory Care's Perspectives podcast, live from Congress 2025 in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm Lisa Weisenberger, AARC Director of Engagement and Media, and I'm here today with AARC members and HOSA advisors and volunteers Jerry King and Alysia Osorio. Thank you both for joining me today to discuss your involvement with HOSA and how it's helping AARC support the growing respiratory care profession. To begin, Jerry, can you give us a little background on what HOSA is all about and why you got involved and how you feel it is impacting students who are considering the respiratory therapy profession?
It's been around for a long time. It used to be the Health Occupation Student Association. And now it's actually, they still call it HOSA, but it's all about high school students, middle school students that are interested in healthcare careers or the healthcare field, but they're not sure what. Everybody grows up knowing what a doctor, a nurse, and a lawyer is, but the other side of healthcare, the other many professions, very, very few. So HOSA helps to introduce students to that. I got involved just from a high school student asking me, reaching out to our university saying, we need a respiratory therapist. And that's how I got involved. So I started there and I've done probably, too many to count high school trips just to talk about what respiratory is.
Great. Alysia, how did you decide you wanted to become involved in HOSA?
Yeah, so to kind of get into that, I have to back up just a little bit. So I've only been I'm a DCE at my college, and I'm newer in the role. And one of the things that I was tasked with when I came on was me and my boss had decided that as we noticed a decline in enrollment post-pandemic, we decided that we wanted to hit recruitment as a goal. And we kind of had this unspoken rule of having a year of yes. And so we were going to say yes to everything. Any opportunity that came our way, we were going to say yes. And so during that year, my boss came to me and said, hey, the AARC is reaching out. There's something called HOSA. There's this conference going on and they're asking about equipment. And we talked about it and we decided to donate some equipment for them to use at their booth. And in that process, I was asked, do you want to help with the booth? And of course, I was like, yes, right? This was the year of yes, absolutely. I don't know what I'm doing, but yes. And so that was kind of how I technically first got involved, was just saying yes to an opportunity to work with the AARC. And when I got there, I learned that HOSA was so much more than I thought it was. I had gone online and kind of looked at it and I said, that's interesting. But when I got there, I realized the sheer volume of students that were involved. And I quickly noticed that first time I volunteered, how many high school and middle school students did not know what respiratory was. And so that really sparked my interest. And with every student response of, oh, that's kind of cool. When I told them what respiratory was, I was hooked. I was like, I want to be involved. I want to know. And so that's kind of how that started for me.
And we are so grateful. Collins College really helped us out donating some equipment. And I know you both have volunteered at the international HOSA event, which is 14,000 high school and middle school students, which last summer, I know Jerry won an award from HOSA for all of his work. But what were some of the highlights from each of you?
Honestly, the highlights for me this past year was seeing the difference from the first time I attended the conference to now, where, like I said, that first year, nobody knew what respiratory was. The competition wasn't there yet. The test wasn't there yet. And so this last year, there were students coming to our booth saying, we're competing this year. We're so excited. And they're telling their friends to come to the booth. And so for me, it's just seeing the growth of acknowledgement of how cool our profession actually is. And then seeing the trickle-down effect that is coming from that, where they're actually applying. They're actually making plans to get into these programs. And some of them have even come back and they're like, I'm in my first year. And they're still involved in HOSA. And so that, for me, was a highlight this year.
The highlight to me was that's where we first met. And since then, we've talked multiple times. I actually had a student who was interested in moving to Texas. So she was the one I first reached out to network. The other side, the being able to judge, watching the students compete, that was really, really fun. But I guess the biggest highlight was I had an Alaska high school teacher come to the booth saying, I don't have anybody in Alaska. We had reached out to the House of Delegate from Alaska, and they had already set up a meeting between an Alaska therapist before she ever got back from International HOSA. So
wow, that's amazing. That's really outstanding. So you both talked a little bit about the competitive events. And can you explain a little bit about how those work locally and then into the international? event that happens?
Well, there are two parts to this competition. There's a written exam that we've been working on. They're questions that are submitted by fellow RTs. They are all evidence-based, and we feel like they're really good at introducing these students to the parts of respiratory that distinguish itself from other professions. So it's interesting things, anything from something simple as infection control, oxygen therapy, all the way to neonatal resuscitation and airway management. And so that's one aspect that we feel like kind of gets them interacted with our material. But what's a lot of fun is the skills part of the competition. So if they make it through round 1, they get to round 2, and they actually get to do scenarios that would be something that a respiratory therapist would do. And what I love about that is it really gives them a taste of what we do, A, and B, it puts them in a situation to say, not only have I done that, but I can see myself doing that again. This is fun. This is tangible. And so they can start all of that on the local level by studying for that at their local level, and hopefully getting involved with local schools and going to their labs. And then when they make it to the national level, they start to compete. And it's fun, I think, is the biggest part.
Why do you think that those events and that competition are getting students excited? Is it really the fun aspect? And then they're like, oh, this is super fun. I want to do this.
It brings excitement to the high school students, but it also starts opening up a fostering component. So in Alabama, we have local therapists who go out to the high schools and say, hey, if you're trying to compete, let's partner together and work together. So they either get to tour the hospital and shadow a respiratory therapist early on. And it just opens up doors to partner from middle school, high school, and on. And it gets students excited about our profession.
That's so great.
I think it also gets them involved with the AARC early. There's a lot of students who graduate still not always understanding what their state affiliate does for them or what the AARC does for them. And this relationship requires them to kind of go to the AARC website to watch the videos for prep and to kind of see what we do. And this is the first taste of the professionalism aspect to our profession. It's not just simply something, we're not just technicians that people think we are. We are practitioners and we are professional and we have a community. But beyond the tactile part, which is the fun part, yes, I think that's a big component. I think it really is so much more than that.
How can someone get involved with HOSA locally? And you've both talked a little bit about how each of you do that in your areas, but can you talk maybe just a little bit more about how you've encouraged other people in your areas to get involved?
It really varies state to state. I know, like in Alabama, our state board is very, very heavily involved in HOSA. So I would start there. If you're a therapist in your state, reach out to your state society and ask if they're involved in HOSA. If you don't want to go that route, you can reach out to a local high school. Most high school and middle schools have a HOSA chapter, and you can reach out to them and start there. But it's all about opening doors and partnering. And then the AARC, if you're still not sure, you can always reach out to the AARC liaisons that are HOSA involved, and they have a contact in each state that you can start with.
I think on the local level, it can be something really simple, like volunteering for a HOSA competition. Maybe respiratory is not even at that one, but you're involved with HOSA, you're networking, you're going to be in front of advisors, you're going to be in front of other teachers and volunteers. And that's where you can kind of get your foot in to being known, whether you're representing your hospital or you're representing your college. And that's something else I want to point out. This isn't just for educators. This is for you work at a hospital or you're a floor therapist. You want to get involved. You can make our presence known and make these connections. You can also look, I do recognize that there are states that don't have as many HOSA chapters. I know just in DFW alone, there's hundreds of HOSA chapters. It's very overwhelming. And if you go to a smaller state, you might be lucky to find one. So you really have to look and adapt for your area. And if you don't see HOSA present, reach out to your local high school, find out who the advisors are, find out how you can start a chapter there that will encourage bringing these students into the healthcare field. And I promise you that will then funnel into respiratory as well.
And one of the other cool things, the HOSA chapter, you don't have to just limit yourself to respiratory.
Yeah.
You can judge medical photography or medical terminology. And We partner in Alabama, we partner with our neighboring states too. Everybody is looking for a judge. They do not have enough qualified judges for their local competition. So there's tons of ways to get involved from very, very small events to, heavily involved. So just get your foot in the door and start there and you'll grow.
Yeah. And a couple more things I wanted to say is that I'm thinking of as we're talking is just this is an all hands on deck situation. This is, some people are like, well, how am I going to help? What am I going to do? This is for everyone and this affects everyone. When I initially signed up, they told me, well, you can wear your college shirt and you can promote your college, right? But I was at the International Learning Conference in Dallas. And so we had students from all over the DFW area, from all over Texas. And I had students saying, I'm like, oh, I'm from Collin College. And, they're like, I live 8 hours from here. Like, I can't go. And I immediately was like, I know a school in your area. I know. And so this isn't just about your specific hospital or your school. This is about building the profession as a whole, and everybody wins from it. And so you can go and represent, yes, what you're wanting to do is maybe your hospital or your college, but think broader than that. When we all win together when we're funneling people into respiratory as a whole.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. And that's the other cool fact about it is Molly Martin, who is in Illinois, and I were talking about that last night. We go to represent respiratory. Yes, we do want students, and if you're an educator, but we want qualified, good, respiratory students. And it opens up doors. I've met at the international conference, I've met students from all over the nation, and I'm like, I can help you find a school somewhere in your area. So,
and it's exciting. Something that I guess we haven't really mentioned is obviously we said HOSA is for students that are interested in healthcare, but I don't know if a lot of people recognize though that this means that they're passionate about helping people already. This means that they're already interested in a field where they're serving others. These type of students are the students that we're not only bringing students to the pipeline, we're bringing qualified, excited, motivated individuals. There's a lot of leadership involved in HOSA. And so these are very strong individuals we want, right? We want everybody to know about respiratory, and I would welcome anyone to come. But let me tell you, the amount of qualified applicants we've received, passionate individuals who already love healthcare, it's going to elevate our profession so much.
What do each of you think are some of the most helpful resources AARC offers to members to get involved with HOSA?
That's limitless. It really depends on how in-depth you want to be. One of the best ones is just making a contact in your local area or your state or neighboring state, and that opens up doors. And then I know they send out a kit every year to us when we go to our state conference. And it's AARC Respiratory. It's not promoting any one program or saying anything's better, but it's promoting respiratory care and then the quality of respiratory. They've got grants, they've got some funding, but then just the networking resources. We talk among states, hey, we did this. It was a great idea. And I've seen emails before, hey, my first time to HOSA, I'm nervous, what to expect. So the networking component of knowing each other across the nation is unmeasurable, but the AARC is great. And then supplies. Most of the time it's our local hospitals or schools that take supplies, but the AARC is a great way to funnel all of that through and make sure you're in touch with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, on the AARC website, you can find a lot of educational and promotional tools. I know that they've made posters that people can put in high schools and HOSA classrooms. There's community, which he has already spoken about. It introduces you to people who have already been there before and can give you the roadmap to starting it when it feels overwhelming. And I think that's probably the most valuable part, but there's a lot more coming. There's a lot more coming to the site. And so not only can you just find basic information and resources, there's going to be a lot more tangible kits and resources available.
They'll also connect you with the cohort. So when you aren't sure of where the schools are located in a certain area, the AARC has a direct line to the cohort. So if you need help finding a local school, it's all about not necessarily knowing all of your resources, but knowing someone that has access to it. And the AARC does a great job of doing that.
Yeah, that's a very good point too. Like using Connect too in the HOSA community or the all-member forum to ask those questions to, if you have an idea, we're always happy to take that information in. You guys have talked a little bit too about the success stories from HOSA students who went on to pursue a respiratory therapy career. Do you have any other ones to share? Alicia, you mentioned the one that, applied shortly after and they're in their first year.
Terry Miller and I did a discussion here at Congress the other day, and there was actually a student who were from HOSA, and they had, I believe, I don't want to misquote this, but I believe he then started his own HOSA chapter at his college because of that. And so that was a success story. And I may be wrong on this, but I believe he might have been a scholarship recipient because the AARC does offer scholarships as well. That's another resource. So
if you win one of the winners of the competition at the international level, the AARC does have a scholarship. But in Alabama, we actually had one of our competitors place number 6. So we're invited him to do his presentation at our state conference. So we're continuing that connection. It's not like, oh, you won, we're through with you, call us when you're ready. But it's about continuing. And he's actually invited us back to his high school to do presentations for his class. So celebrate the success and then keep them involved.
Any other thoughts you'd like to share about the future of respiratory care and getting involved and your excitement around HOSA?
I think that HOSA's next International Learning Conference is in Indiana, correct? Indianapolis.
Yep.
So we're calling out to all of you in Indiana. There's going to be opportunities to volunteer, offer equipment. Maybe you have local hospitals that could donate, a ventilator or a vest for us to use at the booth. So please be on standby for looking out or reach out to us. It's HOSA@aarc.org is an email. You can reach out to us and if you want to get involved on that one.
Get involved. Even if you're like, I just want to do a small thing, it's really cool to say, I just want to be small, short, involved. And then the next thing you know, you're having so much fun. Students are excited. You walk away going, I'm exhausted, but that was one of the best days of my career to be able to see them excited. And the future of the profession is looking really good. And it's really up to us to see how far we can take it and what we can make out of it.
Yeah, and I think we rightfully so, we spend a lot of time talking about how this affects students. But personally, every time I meet people like Jerry or I meet people at the booth that volunteer, I can't tell you how much it's reignited my own passion for respiratory therapy and just these simple moments of when you're telling someone something about you do that we take for granted because we do every day at the hospital, and you're telling them about it and they're like, that is so cool. You're right. What I do really is cool. And so this really does affect everyone. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's such an exciting thing. And so if you're looking for an easy way to get involved, and I will tell you, it is easy. I mean, it's talking about something you love. It's talking about something you already do and sharing that. This is a good opportunity to start getting involved.
And you're never alone. So there's a wide community out there. So if you're nervous, you don't like to speak, you grab somebody, you go do it together. And we're all stronger together nationally, internationally, as a community and a profession.
And do we have time? I just want to say,
sure.
I just want to say one other thing. For those of you out there that might be like me, kind of like what Jerry was talking about, you're like, well, I'm not the talker of the group. I don't know, I'm not that outgoing. We need everybody. We need the idea. You're the idea person. All right, come bring us ideas. You think of you have these creative things that we could do, these activities. Give us the ideas. We'll pass it along to the people that like doing it or that are the outgoing ones. Just because you think, I don't want to stand in front of people and talk, or I don't want to do this, who have a place in helping build this project into something greater and bigger. So we need everybody. We need everybody, all personalities, yeah.
And I was that person too. I was like, I'm just Jerry. What do I have to offer? And it's really simple. I just offer my story, why respiratory is important to me. Next to breathing, nothing else matters. And people giggle at that, but we're important. And so you just tell your story and then it grows from there. So even just Jerry can do this. You can too.
I like that. Maybe that should be our new. Jerry can do it. So can
Jerry can do it. Anybody can.
I like that.
And get your students involved.
Absolutely.
This is also their introduction to the AARC and just how big of an advocacy we have, a community of RTs that we have. Working in healthcare is hard. And we get stuck in situations where we're in toxic environments and we're unappreciated, or maybe we don't get to practice our full scope, and you can feel very limited. And involving people in this and showing them how amazing we are is starting that so early, I think, is we're going to see a huge growth in professionalism and opportunity for us.
And it is a great way to include people all across your state, because you can't, Texas is bigger than everybody. You can't cover the entire state. So you continue to network with therapists all across your state. And it's just valuable resources all over.
That's amazing. That's a great note to end on. And I just want to say thanks to Alysia and Jerry for joining me today and sharing how your efforts with HOSA and AARC are getting more students to think about respiratory therapy. If you're interested in learning more about how you can get involved, visit aarc.org and search HOSA. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the AARC Perspectives podcast wherever you listen, and share these important resources and stories with your colleagues. And just get involved, as you said. If Jerry can do it, so can you. So have a great day, and thanks so much for joining us.